Welcome back to another blues harmonica session here for the Paisley Blues for Youth program. In the first video, we covered some real basics, playing single notes. We talked about getting grit out of playing two notes together. We talked about trills. We talked about bends, of course. And by now you've probably figured out how to do a lot of simple licks. Those kinds of things, they're all pretty much all. Today we're going to expand on those things by you incorporating a method called tongue blocking. Now, to me, this is what really separates the good players from the guys that just happen to play harmonica as a separate thing. Tongue blocking is where your lips outline four holes and your tongue, the tip of your tongue, goes up on top and blocks the middle two. And so I'm playing an A harmonica here. So right now I'm drawing in on the one hole, just playing a single note. And now I'm drawing in on the four hole, which is an octave up, just playing a single note. And now to incorporate tongue blocking into that, it sounds like this. And so my tongue, like I say, it's just blocking the middle two holes. Now sometimes you can play out of both sides of your mouth, and that's what I'm doing here. You hear both notes ringing. Now this time I'll do it just so the high note plays, but I still have my tongue blocking those notes. And now I'll do it the opposite, so the lower note is sounding. Now you may wonder, why would you want to be able to play a single note with your tongue if the others aren't sounding? Well, the reason is because when you incorporate that tongue block method, you get a lot of rhythm in your playing. And I remember, here's a great example. When I was quite young, I met Carrie Bell. He was playing with Willie Dixon, and he had a record out, his first album, and there was a song called Tomorrow Night, and I just loved that version of the song. I knew Junior Wells had done it way early on than that, but it had a head on it like this. And I didn't know about tongue blocking, and I would play those single notes and I'd go. And I met Carrie Bell, and I got to be friends with him, and he showed me a lot of things. And I remember the first thing I asked him was, how do you play that? And he'd say, man, it's easy. And he said, you do that. And I go. And I couldn't figure out, mine just doesn't sound, it just doesn't have the depth that his had. And I realized that it's tongue blocking, and so instead of playing those, a good example of that is a Muddy Water song, Blow Wind Blow, where the harmonica plays this in the head. A song very similar is the old instrumental Back of the Chicken Shack that has a head like. And it's very easy to play those things. And the nice thing about tongue blocking is that the form of your mouth stays the same as you move up and down the harp. So on this one, we start on the 1 and 4 draw. Now we just move everything up one hole and blow out. Then we draw in. It's so easy to start figuring out just moving up and down the harp. But those first 3 notes is how you play blow in, blow. Except when I get to the staccato part, I'm sort of not quite slapping my tongue on the wooden comb, but I'm sort of as if I was going la 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 la. Little Walter in the song Juke, he goes. And what you may notice is that I did play some single notes, and that's because down at the bottom there's not the physical harmonica to give you enough space to tongue block them. So the first 2 notes of this head, I'm playing single notes. But my next hole is the 4 draw, which suddenly I've got room to add the 1 on the bottom. So I'm playing 2 single notes. And then I just finish off the whole lick in tongue blocking. Now, one last thought on tongue blocking here. You may have noticed that the 2 draw and the 3 blow are the same note, and they are. I usually would use the 2 draw because it's stronger and you can get your air down and get that big fat. But sometimes if I'm just vamping along, just part of the rhythm section, somebody else might be soloing, and you certainly don't want to be playing a lot of licks while somebody else is soloing. I just want to fit in with the rhythm section. So is it boom chuck boom chuck? So what I'm doing there is occasionally I'll play the 2 draw, but for the most part I'm doing that same slapping my tongue down on the 3 blow. And when you do that, what happens is as you start with your tongue off, so when you blow the air, you're actually hitting a couple holes at once. And then when you put your tongue down, it just kind of zeroes it in onto that 1 note. So I'm exaggerating it here so you can hear, but so when I do that fast and with a little more finesse, you get that whomp, 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 whomp. And that's just a perfect kind of thing that's just going to sit in a mix, and it's not going to get in the way of anybody singing or anybody riffing or playing. And when I get out of breath because I've just lost all my air, I just play a lick where I'm breathing in. People always say, what do you do? Like, why don't you get out of breath? It's because I just play something that lets me either bring the air in or expel a lot of the air. And the same thing, a lot of times if you've been playing a note and your lungs are just filled up, I'll do that same tongue block thing, but before I actually hit the note, I open my mouth a bit and just let all this pent-up air out. So, like if I was playing a note that I've been holding forever, I've been drawing in, like 5 minutes later, So when I went that, I I let out a whole bunch of air, and of course that's a big exaggeration, but that's basically what you do. Now I'm going to talk to you about playing in minor keys in the cross harp position. Okay, here's a little shortcut of what you need to know about playing in a minor key in cross harp, which is also called second position. Now I'm playing a D harmonica, and so in cross harp we're playing in the key of A. Now the thing that makes something major or minor is in the scale, the do, re, mi, fa, sol. The third increment of that, in a major key, it sounds like this. Here's the do, re, mi. So if you're in a major key, you can play that whole open. Blues bend some rules, and you can actually play that, when you hear licks like that's actually bending it down, so you're playing the minor against the major, which gives you some dissonance that in classical music, for example, it would be totally unacceptable, but for blues, it's totally acceptable. But if you're playing in a minor key, so in major, you can play that third whole draw bent or natural. You're going to want to resolve it to something if you're holding it as a flattened third there. But my point is that it can work. I find if I was playing like a country type song or a folkier song, chances are I wouldn't use that bent 3 on there. I would get it sounding very majory. But what makes it minor, you have to I'm bending that third hole down. Now, no way would it sound good if I played that hole open. That's just dissonance. That doesn't sound right. So, as long as you remember that, just whenever you hit the third hole draw, you can play in a minor key. All right, we're talking about third position. Here's what this sounds like. What's great about this position is that whatever you play on it, it seems to work fine against a major chord or against a minor chord. So I'll just play Um, First in major. Now play that same thing over the minor chord. So that's pretty cool about this. And incidentally, you may have seen or heard a lot of blues records that feature a chromatic harmonica on it, and that basically in the blues tradition that translates to third position. You know, the Willie Dixon song that Muddy Waters did, "I'm Ready." Well, that same thing is basically just playing in third position on a. That was a C chromatic. This is a C diatonic harmonica. So that's pretty cool to know that you don't really have to worry about major versus minor. It just puts it in a different thing. George Harmonica Smith, who pretty much pioneered the West Coast blues movement, he would play chromatic, and he would tongue block and make these huge sounding. Big sounding chords, and I remember some of his early records. There's one called the Telephone Blues. I thought he was playing in a. I'm playing it in D minor today, but I believe he did it in B minor, and I thought he had a special chromatic that he was playing in B minor with, but he was just playing in third position, and it sounded like a chromatic harp. So that song goes like this. So what George Harmonica Smith was kind of known for, or part of the thing of his style, is he discovered that what you play down low also has an octave up, and he played a lot of those. There's so many great songs in third position. I think the one I started this segment with was based on Little Walter's "Leaving in the Morning." Oops. Another great one is that one, Junior Wells, "Ship Made of Paper," or "Ships on the Ocean." It has a lick that mirrors what the guitar plays, which is something like. Now, what's great about third position, we know by now that the 3 chords used to play blues are the 1, the 4, and 5. When we go to the 4 chord, we're in the key of D. So the 4 chord is a G, which we've just been playing in the key of G and cross harp, all those other things we previously learned. So that really gives you a lot of ammo too, because you find if you're playing maybe where your shortfall might be would be on the 5 chord, and that's where because you're somewhat limited, but that's where third position really comes in handy, because as you get confident playing more complex things, that's in D. So now if I was playing in cross harp, when I get to the D chord, suddenly, because I'm used to playing that in third position, in a sense, I'm playing in third position when I'm on this chord. I'm playing in first position when I'm on this chord, and I'm playing in cross harp when I'm on the 1. And you can see from this high-tech visual aid that I have here that in the different positions, certain chords come up. There's a G in all 3 of these things, but they just come up at different places. There's a C in 2 of these things, and there's an A there, but I know that A's and C's, because A is the relative minor of the key of C. And just any chord that you can play in C, that sounds good against a minor chord. So you can see how it's all related. Now I'm going to talk to you about playing some trills in third position. And what's nice is this trill here. That works. We're in the key of D. C harmonica, third position. We're playing in the key of D. So that trill works over the root chord, the 1, works over the 4 chord, works over the 5, now the lower trill, I could use that there. I can use that there too. I can use that lower one there, and I could probably use it there too. Or I could just, mix it up a bit. Like I could just trill on, do the lower one on the 4 chord, and keep the 1 and 5 chords playing the high one. I'll stay on the 5 for. when you hear James Cotton do Blues in My Sleep. So you can see there I was getting a lot of mileage out of the sixth bend, and I don't know, third position. You know, a lot of times too, people say, well, why, if you have different key harmonicas, why would you go to third position, or why would you choose a different position? And, you know, the reason being that, you know, maybe if I was playing in D on a G harp and cross, it's a very low pitched harp. And, you know, maybe for a certain song, it's not going to cut through great. So I might choose a higher pitched harp and play it in a different position. That'll sure cut through. As opposed to that, to play, or things like that. Or, you know, for example, if a song's in the key of C, in cross harp, that would mean an F harp, which is a pretty high pitched harp. But playing in first position on a C harp, for example, that gives you a lower tone. So mixing these up is just great to do. And now I'm going to tell you all about first position. All right, now we know that all those around the campfire songs, those are all first position. But there's a way of playing in first position that has a very bluesy feel to it. I'm going to be playing on an A harmonica here, and I'll give you just a little taste of what this is like. So you can see there's sort of two little things going on there, those high notes, and we'll get to those in a minute or two. And I don't know if your ear could pick up on it, but there's one grouping of notes that seem to come up a lot, and that's this little run here. I'll play it real slow, and I'm starting on the 4 blow, but I'm playing it as a chord. Then a bend on the 3. Then the 2 open, bent, then blow out on 1, and then hit that octave. when you hear the famous blues song Hoochie Coochie Man, the Muddy Waters version, Little Walter is playing this. Gypsy woman told my mother before I was born, you got a boy child coming, gonna be a son of a gun, gonna make all you women jump and shout, and the world wanna know. And he plays this. And that sounds so cool against the 4 chord when that comes in. So you can hear that coming up a lot, and that's the thing. A lot of times too, I would hear records, and I didn't know about playing in different positions. So I would, for example, I would hear someone like James Cotton go, or Jimmy Reed go. So I didn't know about first position, and I just assumed he was playing cross harp, because I could make the harp work on the song. I sounded like I'm playing in tune, but I would find those notes. I would find this, which on here it's a compressed blow note, but here it's a very weak draw note. So I would play that and I think, man, mine sounds so wimpy compared to that. What's going on? And then I realize, they're playing in a different position. So that really opens up your playing. I'm going to play you. Might be catching myself off guard here, but I'll give it a shot. There was kind of an older way of playing. Here, let me get a. I've heard Jazz Gillum, who recorded with Big Bill Broomsey in the 30s. Well, not exactly record quality, but you sort of get the idea. And those older players like Jazz Gillum, they they would use a lot of in and out up there. In the 50s, 40s, and 50s and 60s, the blues guys didn't quite play it like that. They just got a little more meat out of the notes. and playing those high notes, it's not just blowing up into the top of the harp. Like, what you have to do is somehow get some compression into them. And what I'm doing is I'm making the hole in my lips very small. I'm not blowing them hard, because if you blow them really hard, they're going to go out of tune really quick. And this works best on lower pitch harps like an A harmonica, so really a G, A flat, A, B flat, B, C. Once you start getting above there, it gets a little harder to play. Like you'd never be able to pull that off on a high F. Or you might be able to, but it would be way up in the O zone. And you just want to get, I always picture it like those big tanks that blow balloons up. There's all this pressure in the tank, and it's just coming out of a little spout just to fill enough air in that balloon thing go up, or it would just go out and explode the balloon. So I'm just I'm starting on the 9th hole, and the thing is, you can bend those notes. First position is kind of nice too in funky stuff. Jimmy Reed, he played pretty much all in cross harp or first position. He would have songs in the key of E. And then he would have songs in the key of A and not have to switch the harps. He'd, one of his great ones, Honest I Do. Sometimes Jimmy Reed would hit the note beside it, and that kind of had an interesting sound too. kind of sloppy playing, but sometimes those sloppy mistakes sound good. Another great track you should check out is a song called Trust Me Baby by Sonny Boy Williamson. Something like that at the beginning, and when he plays those high notes in the solo, it's so low down and mournful, and he's playing them really quiet, but the thing is you still need that compression. It's just like open that valve of that big tank just enough to let that note come out, and he gets so much soul out of those. I mean, I'm off on my own thing now. I can't remember exactly what he played, but that's the gist. And that's the thing. If you just take the gist of what someone's playing, same way, this isn't a Howlin' Wolf song exactly. But that's Wolf's approach to it. James Cotton had all those. You can just pick up so many different things from so many different players, and that's what you need to do. Listen to as many different harp players as you can, and if you have any questions, drop me an email or something. If it's something easy, I can answer it for you if I have time. Or if you might want to take a one-on-one lesson, we can do that through Skype, and all that info is under the contact info on my website. So let me wish you all the best in your playing, and it's been a real treat for me to talk about the harmonica and share some tips with you. And thanks to the Paisley Blues Society, and best of luck with it.